Hey everyone, Dr. Brown here. Are you ready to identify your first tree? So there are two ways we could do this. Here I am standing at the first tree that we're going to be identifying. We could do this where we walk up to the tree, I show you the tree, I show you the leaves, make a little video, and I say, this is a and I just tell you what the tree is. So we could do that. That would go really fast. You would hear a bunch of tree names and then you would promptly forget them. So this other way, rather than telling you what trees are, I'm going to teach you how to figure out what the tree identity is. And we're going to do this by playing a game, essentially. So have you ever played that game where it's the ones I've played, it's a little machine, and you start out by thinking of any object, any sort of noun. And then the machine asks you questions and you have to answer yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. And after it asks you a bunch of questions, it's usually able to narrow down whatever you're thinking about. It's able to guess what it is. So we're going to do that same thing, but with trees. We're going to use what's called a dichotomous key. So there are about 147, give or take a few, trees that are native to Missouri. These are trees that were here before Europeans settled and brought a bunch of other trees with them. That's what we focus on in field biology, is native plants. Now that's a lot, 147. We're not even gonna scratch the surface with that. Here's this other book. This is called 50 Common Trees of Missouri. I like this because it narrows it down to the ones that you're most likely to run into. We're gonna even narrow it down further. We'll probably end up looking at about a dozen of these trees. And for starters, you don't need to memorize the trees that I show you. The whole purpose of this is for you to learn how do you observe a tree. So here's how this is gonna work. In the back of this book, let me get this situated. So in the back of this book, there is this thing called a dichotomous key. So this dichotomous key, all it does is it asks you a series of multiple choice questions. So when you walk up to a tree and you want to identify it, you go to the first question and it gives you two choices. You select the choice which best describes your tree, and then you move on to the next question. And you select the choice there that best describes your tree, and you move on to the next question until you'll keep going through a bunch of questions until you can identify the tree. So it's actually really fun to do, and along the way you're going to learn a lot about tree characteristics. So today is the practice one. I'm gonna walk you through it. We have an electronic dichotomous key that matches the one in this book. So we're going to use the electronic dichotomous key and work through these questions to identify our first subject. So first, let's just get a look at it. Here's the tree. I selected this one because it actually has plenty of leaves on it. A lot of the trees at this time of year are still, the leaves are just starting to arrive. They're a little tricky when they're small leaves. But these leaves are pretty mature already, so this tree should be doable. So if you open up your electronic dichotomous key, it would look something like this. Question number one. Which of these best describes the tree? Number one, the leaves are needle or scale-like or evergreen or have vertically fibrous bark. Okay, so does this tree are the leaves needle or scale-like? Doesn't look like it. Let's look at that other option. The other option is the leaves are broad and flat, or not as described above. All right, here's a close-up of one of these leaves. Okay, is that leaf needle-like or scale-like, or is it broad and flat? Well, take a choice, take a pick. I would definitely consider that broad and flat. In fact, trees that have broad and flat leaves, these are trees that lose their leaves. These are called deciduous trees. So the ones that are needle-like are the evergreens, and we will see some of them as we visit more trees. But this one is broad and flat, so go ahead and select that option. After you've selected that, it's going to take you to another choice. So the next question it takes me to is, are the leaves or leaf scars arranged oppositely on the branch, or are the leaves or leaf scars arranged alternately on the branch? What in the world does that mean? I'm not going to tell you. I want you to use this website in the question to learn the difference between opposite and alternate. All right, now that you know what the difference is between an alternate arrangement of leaves and an opposite arrangement of leaves, let's see if we can answer this question. So here we go. Hey, look, there's a little ladybug on this guy. I'm gonna pick some leaves that are, this one will work. Okay, so here is one leaf. Here is another leaf. You see how these leaves are directly across from each other. So they are opposite. You look down at the next two leaves, this one and this one, and they are directly across from each other. So this is what you call, there's a nice view of it. See how they are directly opposite of each other. The one I'm holding and then the one on the other side of the twig. So this is opposite arrangement, where you have one leaf on one side and another matching leaf on the other side. Go ahead and mark opposite in your question. Okay, that brings us to our next question. So in here it's a little more complicated. You have to move from question to question. In your electronic form it should do it automatically. So let's see, this one says, go to question 5. All right, is the leaf simple or is the leaf compound? What in the world does that mean? Same thing, I want you to go find out. So go to this website that's listed in the question and learn what's the difference between a simple leaf and a compound leaf. Now that you know the difference between a simple and a compound leaf, let's take a look at these leaves and see what they are. I'm going to pick, so here is the leaf. This is where it's attached to the stem. I'm going to pick one of these leaves off. So this is one leaf from the tree. I am not going crazy. I know you're thinking, oh wait, that looks like 3 leaves. This is actually one leaf. And you can tell because here where the stem attaches to the twig, there's a little bud right there. So this is one leaf. Now, based on what you just learned about the difference between simple and compound, how would you classify this leaf? Yeah, I agree. This is definitely a compound leaf so it's one leaf with 3 leaflets. 3 leaflets on it. Go ahead and answer that question. And that takes us to our next question. So we just marked this as compound. Now, the next question is, are the twigs bright, green, smooth, and the leaflet, there are 3 to 5 leaflets per leaf, seeds winged, or are the twigs thick but not green? Well, let's find a twig. So the twigs are the smallest tips of the branches on the tree. So this is the largest branch on the tree, known as the trunk, and you follow these branches out and they get thinner and thinner and thinner. The twigs are the new growth at the end of the tree. So if we were to pull one of these down, interesting, look at that. Okay, so if you look there, let me see if I can get a different view where it's not so bright. Yeah, okay, look at that. So this is the twig that I'm holding right there. And notice what color it is. This is definitely green. Up here, it's woody, it's brown. That's what you typically expect to see. But down here, this is definitely green. So let's go ahead and mark that option. twigs, bright green, smooth, and there were 3 leaflets on that leaf that I showed you. So mark that option, and what kind of tree is this? It should tell you the answer. Hopefully, if you selected everything right, you found a box elder tree. So sure enough, without having a clue in the world about what kind of tree this is, just by answering those simple questions, you could tell that this is a box elder tree. And you've learned a lot about how leaves are arranged, different types of leaves that you can expect to find on trees. So that's how we're going to be doing this. Today is just the practice one. In the future, we'll probably do 2 of these per day, and you'll go through the questions just like we did. Some of them are going to be simple, some of them are going to be quite complicated with lots of questions to go through. I would say this one is on the simpler side, maybe towards the middle. There you have it. Now, to finish today's assignment, I want you to go to the website that's listed on the answer sheet there for the box elder. Go to that website. That's the Missouri Department of Conservation, and I want you to write or describe from that website 2 uses of this tree, one for wildlife and one for human use. So one for wildlife, one for human use. And last thing I want to show you, you noticed how in that last choice it talked about, where are these guys? Ah, there they are. The seeds and the fruit are wing-like. So take a look at this fruit right there. This is actually the tree that Mr. O'Donnell found on the scavenger hunt. And so now those flowers have developed into this fruit. These will continue to develop, and in the fall, they're gonna be helicopter seeds hanging all over this tree. Pretty cool. So ladies and gentlemen, this is tree number 1, the box elder.